Hello, I'm Darren Magee, and today's topic is the third part in a series looking at how and why people end up in unhealthy relationships with toxic, narcissistic people. Today, I'm going to be focusing on why some people stay in those unhealthy relationships. So if you like this video, if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel. But just as a reminder, this video was not a substitute for support from a mental health professional, nor is it a tool to be used to diagnose someone. Now, to the uninformed, to the outsider who has no idea what it's like to be abused in a relationship, they may be asking questions like, well, if it was that bad, why did you stay? Or why don't you just leave? But when it comes to relationship abuse, just leaving isn't always easy. A lot of things could be going on. It could be very difficult to leave. And today I'm going to outline what I think are 8 reasons why people stay in those toxic relationships. And the first reason is the victim is shamed into staying. The victim is shamed for being abused. Now, men in difficult relationships with someone may hear things like, a big lad like you being treated like that? What are you, a man or a mouse? There's no way you'd catch me letting her treat me like that. Women may hear things like, you made your bed, you have to lie in it, just stop annoying him, look what you stand to lose if that relationship ends, it's up to you to make it work. The victim is shamed for being abused. Secondly, the victim feels as if they are responsible for either the partner or the partner's behaviour. Now, through a series of gaslighting, shaming, blaming, intimidation, a manipulative person can turn pretty much any argument, any issue, into the fault of the victim. The victim, after a while, I'd say it's almost like they become brainwashed. They take ownership of any of the bad behaviour on the part of the abuser. But you have to remember that doesn't happen overnight. That happens a little piece at a time. Most victims don't even see it until it's too late. Thirdly, there's what's known as the cycle of abuse. Now, the cycle of abuse, that is a pattern of bad behaviour, usually followed by acts of kindness. Maybe there's an apology, a bit of tenderness. There's a commitment not to do it again. It's sometimes referred to as the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase, I think, is a way of minimising the abuse. It's sometimes referred to as hoovering or love bombing. It's a way of reeling someone back in order for the abuse to continue. And yes, it certainly can be that, but I think in some cases, and this is only speculation on my part, I think when the abusive person is going through that love bombing, that honeymoon phase, I think sometimes they might believe what they're doing is they are undoing the bad behavior. And that's why the cycle continues. And that's why when they're confronted by previous patterns of bad behavior, they are very resistant to accept it because they tend to think that the nice things, the generous things, the kind things they have done have cancelled out all the bad things, when in reality they don't. Next, the victim believes if they stick at it, sooner or later the partner's going to change. Now, maybe they stay out of love, they stay out of a sense of duty, they may stay because that parent, that partner, that family member, that friend, whatever, they're aware of their difficult traumatic past, the difficulty they have with their addiction, with their illness. So they stay thinking that they are helping them. They may believe that they can bring out the best in that person. Now, the thing is, in some relationships, someone maybe can change with the right kind of help, the right kind of support, and the right kind of nurturing. Someone maybe can change for the better. I'm a believer that, yes, there can be exceptions sometimes, but not always. Because some really manipulative people, they will wear their issues, their traumas, their conditions, they wear them like a badge of entitlement. They wear them like a permanent get out of jail free card. Some are just oblivious or could care less about the pain and the carnage they leave in their wake. It's everybody else's fault. Reason number 5, the bad behavior is normalized. Now, the abusive person may claim that they're very religious, they may hold a position of authority or responsibility, so they may claim they are not being controlling, they're not being manipulative, they're just being stern, they're being assertive. The victim is being difficult for not being okay with it. And what I would describe as, I suppose, a righteous or religious narcissist will usually claim they are closer to God So the victim's place in heaven is dependent on them. Or maybe they hold some position in some sense of hierarchy, and that entitles them to demand whatever they want, no matter how unreasonable. And when someone has been brainwashed or conditioned to believe this kind of thing, it can be difficult for them to recognize the abuse and therefore to seek help. They may believe they have to stick at it because it's going to be in their best interest in the long run. There could be an ongoing promise of eternal life and blessings. There could be an ongoing promise of things are going to work out brilliantly at the end if you stick with me. But it rarely is. More often than not, it just gets worse. And in relationships like that, there can even be external pressures, what are other members of the church going to think? What are your family members going to think? What are friends going to think? Now, in social media, we have this image of this perfect life together. There is a fear over how other people are going to react. So again, they may be shamed into staying. Next up, long-term emotional abuse destroys self-esteem and self-confidence. When someone's sense of self-worth and autonomy has been systematically and relentlessly targeted and chipped away at, they may feel it's too overwhelming, too painful to try to leave, to try to make a new start. And even in the absence of physical abuse or the threat of physical abuse, many abusers will play down the impact of what it is they're doing. The victim is just too sensitive, has no sense of humor, or the victim fears they're not going to be believed. In a lot of cases, the victim isn't believed and they lose their sense of reality. That loss of that sense of reality, that sense of self, is usually due to the long-term exposure to things like neglect and abuse. The next reason, the victim can't leave because they have children together, they have a mortgage together, they may share a business venture together. Their names are on all of the debt that the partner has accumulated. They share the same social network, so they stay out of fear, they stay out of necessity, they stay to keep the children safe, they try to manage the debt. There's the fear of losing friends, family members, a source of income and security. And some very highly skilled manipulative people can contrive situations to make their victims dependent on them, making it very difficult for them to leave. They may not have the resources or the support network that helps them or allows them to just leave. In some cases, they may even be led to believe they have no choices, they have no options. And lastly for today, and I would like to emphasize that this applies to everyone. This applies to anyone, okay? There are no exceptions this time. The victim could be terrorized into staying. Now, leaving could be dangerous, not just emotionally painful, but in some cases there could be physical assaults, either on the person who is leaving or even after they have left. There could be damage to their property, their personal belongings, their character, their reputations could be torn apart and shredded. In extreme cases, it could even be life-threatening. The abuser could threaten to harm them, harm someone close to them, threaten to harm anyone new they might meet, even anyone that they're talking to. The abuser may even threaten to harm themselves. Many victims can find themselves being stalked, not just on social media, but at their home, at their new place of residence, at their work, or any social events that they might attend. So if you're in, or if you know someone who's in or has been in a very difficult relationship with a narcissistic, abusive, controlling person, don't be so quick to judge because you have no idea why they're there. Now, if you do need help, reach out. There is help there. There's different agencies, different organizations. I'm going to put the links to just a few of them in the description to this video. So there are 8 reasons why I think some people stay in abusive relationships. As always, please feel free to use the comment box below. There are some interesting conversations starting around these videos. If you like this video, if you find it helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel for future updates on mental health related topics. And until next time, thanks for watching.